Welcome back to the Sports Booth YouTube channel. You are joined by myself and Hughesy with a special video today. We are looking into building a Southern Hemisphere team. So very similar to what you've got with the British and Irish Lions, but using Argentina, New Zealand, South Africa and Australian players, kind of like a Rugby Championship XV.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting concept. I hope World Rugby, SANZAAR looks into it because we've got the British and Irish Lions tour, which is amazing. So maybe we could get the SANZAAR something or others tour. I don't know. You'd have to come up with, coming up with the marketing for that. It would also be a huge thing. That'd be like if it was a good enough jersey, I'd be interested in getting it and everything like that. And yeah, look, we're going to go through and make sort of a bit of a squad today. And in the spirit of this being a combined Southern Hemisphere team, previously when we've built our rosters, we've been my team versus Luke's team. But in the spirit of the cooperation of the Southern Hemisphere, today we're going to collaborate. We're going to work together on a dream team kind of roster, including reserves, because this team's going on tour, right? You've got to take some backup players. Injuries happen and things like that. So we're going to be building out our squad. And yeah, look, I mean, hopefully one day this becomes a reality, because I think you'll see from a team that we build out how exciting it would be to see some of these guys on the same team on the field at the same time.
100%. So yeah, the way we've kind of format it is it's going to be we pick a position, so over myself or Hughesy to start off with, and we have the final say on that position, but we may discuss a few players, look into each players we've got. So an example, obviously number 9, say I chose number 9, we've got players like Flaff de Klerk, Aaron Smith, Nick White, all to kind of pick from. We discuss kind of who we think's best, and then I have the final say. So if I say Aaron Smith, or if I say Flaff de Klerk or anything like that, he goes in the team. We build 15 to start off with, then we have the reserves and build like a 23, so what our starting 23 squad would look like, and then we have 7 reserves, so we have a squad of 30 travelling is the idea. Hughesy, I'll let you kick us off with picking the position you first want to select. Again, it doesn't matter, any order, just anyone in the 15, and then we can get into a bit of a discussion.
Great. Well, I'm going to start off. I think it's good to start off in the front row. All right, your forwards are the foundation of your squad, and at the front row, the foundation of a really solid front row obviously is the hooker. Not only for scrum time, for lineouts and things like that as well. Now, for my mind, watching the Australian versus England series, one of the standout players for Australia across the entire series was Dave Porecki, and clearly has lifted the standard for Australia in terms of hooking. Now, it might just be my recency bias and my Australian bias coming through, but I think Dave Porecki would be a very interesting choice for hooker here. But I'd be interested to hear your thoughts around potentially who could come in for that hooker position. I know Cody Taylor is a name you're probably going to throw up there as well.
Yeah, I mean, watching the series, I wouldn't go past Porecki. I think Porecki played better than Cody Taylor. If we go history bias, then we'd obviously go with there. But I'm thinking we're picking off form. So there's only I see there's only 2 hookers that are deserved of that spot, and that's Porecki and Malcolm Marx. I think to not select Malcolm Marx would be a harsh one. So I don't think it matters too much. Malcolm Marx is showing the way he comes off the bench for South Africa. So I think we could easily do that. And the way Porecki starts a game, I think I wouldn't go past it. Those were the 2 I had bracketed pre video, but I guess as well, Argentina, I don't have a lot of, research done based off them, but I do know a few players that stand out, and hooker wasn't one of the positions I was looking at, although I do know they've got quite a good hooker. But yeah, I wouldn't go against Porecki or Malcolm Marx in either way, starting or bench. So I'll let you decide who goes in there.
Montoya's
Julian
Montoya's the hooker for Argentina, and sort of looking at their series against Scotland, just for some brief research, there's a few big names on the Argentinian side that we'll get to when we get to that position, Pablo Matera, Buffelli and things like that. For my mind, look, I'm glad you brought up Marx off the bench, because that's where he did play in the South African series against Wales. So, I mean, I don't know if we can do this right now, if we're already breaking the rules, but if we put Porecki in at starting hooker, and then maybe we've got Marx on the bench, we can put those both down now.
I'm happy. I think that's that's the way to do it, is to get Malcolm Marks into that 16 jersey, and then Porecki starting. I don't think there'll be too many complaints with that there, and I think we'll look at either Cody Taylor or Montoya on the reserves list when we get to that as well. So a good starting one in the hooker position. My turn. Now I think it's pretty easy. I've gone with inside centre because I know he's not named in the Rugby Championship purely because he's travelling overseas, but I think by far the best number 12 in the recent series. I think countrywide was Karevi, so I don't think we have to discuss that too much, and I thought that would be an easy one. I know South Africa have some good midfields. I'm looking at you can say Quinta Paya, but I just think Karevi's a step above all. So 2 Wallabies to start us off.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Quinta Paya is a good player as well. Now, Rico Ioane mostly plays outside centre, doesn't he?
That's correct, yeah.
That's correct. Okay, because when I started thinking of the centre's position, he was another name that had sort of come to my mind. Now, this is going to be an interesting one for this conversation because I think wing is one of the strongest positions across all 4 teams. So Australia's obviously got Koroibete, who is premier winger. New Zealand, you've had Will Jordan play on the wing as well as at fullback. He could kind of go either. Leicester, Fainganuku, Sevu Reece as well. So strong wingers there. Argentina, Emiliano Buffelli was probably the standout player of their series. 100%. So I feel like he's got to earn a spot there somewhere. And then the South African wingers, I'm not as familiar with. But Cheslin
Kobe didn't have the greatest of series, and Mapipi as well. But again, they're two, like you say, the depth on the wingers in this team. I remember when we first thought of this concept, I was like, God, that's going to be a hard one to pick.
But so Mapimpi was the name I was trying to figure out how to pronounce when I was coming to the South Africans. But look, I think if we're looking at wingers, right, Buffelli is the 11 for and Koroibete's both 11s, although I think you could probably positional versatility is fine there, but those are sort of the names that come to the forefront for me is Koroibete and Buffelli. But obviously New Zealand's got some amazing wingers as well. So, and I guess this kind of comes to this kind of will lead into a conversation about fullback because who do we see at fullback? Because Will 100%. Jordan, I think, has a place on this team in the starting lineup. But do we think he gets that spot as fullback or as a winger?
Yeah, I like, as much as I am a Will Jordan fullback lover, the fact that he seems to not internationally play in that position, I would prefer him to be on a wing. But I also wouldn't mind chucking him in the 23 jersey and then he can come off the bench as a wing fullback cover. Because the reason I say that is just because when I'm thinking about this team, Koroibete and I think Buffelli both need a spot. Like I had when I originally thought it in original Y15, I had Jordan and Buffelli, but I just to sit there and leave Koroibete out, I think was wrong as well. So I mean, I would go Koroibete and then probably Buffelli on the wings, and then bring Jordan off the bench.
All right. Well, our first Argentinian named. And isn't this interesting so far? We've got Porecki, Koroibete, Karevi, right, as 3 Wallabies in here, and no All Black on the starting team yet.
Yes.
We've got Jordan on the bench, but I think this kind of shows the elevated level that some of these Wallabies players have been playing at. I don't know if we'll see too many more Wallabies crack the starting lineup here, just given the strength of the rest of the teams here. But
definitely.
It's good to get some of those strong names out here and see that recognition. We filled up three spots there in one go when we talk about the wings. But I think we're pretty aligned there on the the three main names that came to mind there being Corabetti, Buffelli, and Jordan. So that is 11, 14, and 23 now filled out here. So Luke, over to you. For what position are we looking at next?
Yeah, I'm going to keep it simple for my ones to start off with. I'm going to go 8, where I think there's only really one choice. As great as there are 8s in this competition, I think Artie Savia easily takes that one, so I don't think we need too much discussion over it.
No, looking at the Australia vs England series, Rob Valentini had a solid series. Not, I guess, the game breaker that we used to seeing at the Super Rugby level, but he was also overshadowed by his opposition number 8, Billy Vunipola. And we need to be looking at with these kind of squad, like a Southern Hemisphere representative squad, we've got to be looking at the players that won't ever be overshadowed. And I think Artie Savia definitely was one of the standouts for the All Blacks, even in a series loss. He was definitely one of the best there.
I do want to make a quick shout out for Jasper Wise of South Africa. Yep. He is a new boy on the kind of scene for international rugby, but was the player of the game in the Premiership final for the Leicester Tigers. So he'll be a name to watch out for and eventually crack at this team if it comes to realisation.
Yep. Let's talk about halfbacks now, because this is one where I don't think a Wallaby has a place on the starting lineup or the bench, maybe in the extended 30. I think Nick White has got a spot in the extended 30, but for the starting 9 and for the bench 9, in the Aaron Smith is an incredible player, and then I think you also mentioned from South Africa, Faf de Klerk. So we've got a couple of really good options here. What are your sort of initial thoughts, I guess, over who should be, for my mind, just quickly, de Klerk on the bench and Aaron Smith starting is sort of where I'm leaning initially for my halfbacks.
Yeah, I was leaning the other way, and I know de Klerk didn't have the greatest series and was actually relegated to the bench, I think, for the final game against Wales for Hendricks, I believe. But I just what Faf de Klerk offers on the field is a leadership position. I always imagine this. You kind of go, okay, the best free halfbacks in the world are de Klerk, Aaron Smith, and Dupont. So imagine this team's touring the Northern Hemisphere. De Klerk, I think, gives us the realistic better chance to win games than Smith just currently. So I went to Klerk, but you could go either way in the decision making, and I don't think I'd be unhappy. I just think de Klerk's style of play suits playing Northern Hemisphere teams with his box kicking ability compared to what Aaron Smith kind of offered throughout. But yeah.
Look, I'm going to again we're collaborating here. You're a back, I'm a forward. I'm going to give you the benefit here and take your experience, because you'd be playing outside this number 9. Who do you want giving you the ball? Just telling me de Klerk. Then let's pop de Klerk in the 9, and then it would be Aaron Smith in the 22 jersey. 21.
They are nowadays.
21.
They are.
Yeah, look.
Rugby league, rugby union numbers go. Yeah. I think that's very fair. But as I continue with my easy picking ways, I'm going to pick the number 7 now, because I think this is an easy pick as well. As great as Sam Kane and as great as I think it's Smith, Cougar Smith for the South Africans, you don't not pick Michael Hooper in the 7 jersey.
Yeah.
So I think that's an easy one. I think that the toughest is actually going to be the number 6 jersey when we come to the Lucies, because there's 2 Lucies. But I think either way, we've got a Lucy reserve and a Lucy starter from what I see. So we'll wait until we talk about the 6s.
Yeah, definitely not going to disagree with you about Michael Hooper, and I would actually probably see him as the captain of this team, given his tendency as captain of the Wallabies, ability, I guess, to there's no controversy about Hooper. There's only ever positive things said about him, really. He's just got that squashed together face that you can't help but love and want to play for.
I think it'd be a great leader for a Southern Hemisphere team again, by the books again, very Richie McCaw-esque, will do the dirty work and lead it,
Exactly.
and you can always rely on him. So yeah,
100%. Alrighty. So yeah, I think before we move on to discussion of other players, interesting. This is really good to bring up in the context of this. The news came out this week where someone from some media commentators have said that Sam Kane's being picked for New Zealand purely on name value now, and he wouldn't make Italy's starting side.
Stuart Barnes. We never listen to Stuart Barnes.
Yeah. So I guess like the fact that we haven't picked him here in our Southern Hemisphere team, I guess do you see a role? I guess in the 30 for Sam Kane in the extended 30 squad.
Potentially. Potentially, I would say. Like, there's no other. As much as Dalton Papali'i stands out, I wouldn't pick Papali'i over Kane yet. And so there's no other standout 7. When I look across the board, you could head in the direction of South Africa, looking at there. But even there, who is there? I think is it. Yeah, Quagga Smith. I would. Again, I think he is going to be our backup number 7 in the end, but it'll be the discussion around what flanks we need. And I think the fact that Ardie Savea can play 7 as well, he's been there, done it. Maybe a discussion that do we need a backup 7 if Ardie Savea's there? Do we go down an 8 route? Especially if we're thinking the same way of the 6, which I think we are. Yeah. When we get to it, it will be interesting. I think the end of the 30, who makes it and who doesn't make it. But yeah, he's the next best number 7. As much as people want to say he wouldn't get selected for Italy, he is the next best number 7. I still think.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get to our discussion on 6 then, because we may as well round out our Lucy's now. Obviously, for Argentina, the big name there is Pablo Matera. Great season with the Crusaders, captain of the Argentinian Los Pumas. I think he's the big name that stands out for me for Argentina. If we're looking to add some more Argentinian blood to this squad, he is sort of, while he's the leader of the Argentinian squad, he's sort of, I feel like he's like a bizarro version of Michael Hooper. Like, he does the dirty work, and he'll do it in a dirty way. Like, he will do anything kind of to win. Yeah, like he'll get in that. Like, there's a reason he's gotten so many cards and things like that. So I guess Michael Hooper leads as the ideal of, like, always does everything by the books kind of thing. Pablo Matera leads by the whatever it takes kind of style of leadership. So it'd be interesting to see both of those as the two flankers. But I think there's a couple of names you're going to probably throw out there for the 6 jersey that are also equally worthy.
Well, yeah, I'm only going to throw out one name, and it's Kolisi from South Africa, the captain of South Africa. And my true belief is you start Kolisi and you put Matera as the number 20. The fact that Matera played so much of 8 for the Crusaders, I think you've got 3, realistically, at the last year the Rugby Championship last year, the 3 captains were Kolisi, Hooper and Savea going into it. So I go, that's a scary back row, probably the best back row you can make together in the world. And the fact that you can bring Matera off the bench is that's a dominant force. So I think, that was the way I saw it in my head. And again, Matera is going to come on and do that dirty work and can play 8. If Hooper goes down injured, Savea moves into 7, Matera on 8. If not, you just swap Kolisi at that 55-minute mark for Matera, and that's you don't lose anything there.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all, and so that's the way we're going to line them up is Kolisi at 6 and Matera at 20. Excellent. So we got a pretty good back row there.
I would say that's probably the best back row I've ever seen, just about in my life. All right, let's move on to the first lock, number 4. I think the first lock's a pretty easy selection in my point of view, and it's a South African again. It's Eben Etzebeth. I can't say his name properly, but he's just an absolute dominant force. I think that was the easy one. Again, like you said, you always need that bit of a dick or bit of a nutter on your team, and there's our nutter to go in there, to go against England, to go head to head with what's his face, Johnny Johnny Laws, was it?
Yeah.
Whoever, yeah. To wind up the other team and get them off their game, and it's Etzebeth. So I think that was an easy selection for me. There's great talent. You got Retallick, you've got Whitelock, you've got
Yes.
some really good names in there. But I just think you can't not select the beast.
Yeah, Brodie Retallick was a name I was thinking of there as well. Frankenstein. But yeah, look, that's you've made some compelling arguments. Let's look now. Let's look now at fullback. Now we've said Will Jordan. We've taken him off the board as a 23, but we still got some incredible names out there. For the All Blacks, I think Jordie Barrett had a pretty great series, and I think a lot of people were thinking, is this not Will Jordan's time to be at fullback? Has Jordie Barrett, sort of has he played well enough to be that 15? And I think he responded to that, and you could see the chemistry between him and his brother Bowden, obviously, with a few of the tries they set up, looking like the same person was passing themselves the ball basically some of the time now that they've aligned their haircuts. For Australia, I don't think we can really look at many fullbacks from Australia. And honestly, the best fullback Australia had in the series, the two best fullbacks Australia had in the series were Tom Wright and Andrew Kellaway when they started those games on the wing and came in because of injury. Yep. I think Australia, as much as I do like the idea of sort of Tom Wright at fullback and the potential of Geordie Petaia, I don't think either of them would be good enough to knock off Jordie Barrett. For Argentina, Buffelli started a game at fullback, but we've got him on a wing, and other than that, it was Juan Cruz Malia. But I think South Africa is a spot where we can look to for fullback.
100%. Damien Willemese is out of this world from what I've watched, especially seen his highlights for Stormers. Led the Stormers to the win in the URC, and then had a very good series. Kicked the winning penalty in the first game, and then was left out in the second game, I think, or came off the bench in the second game, and then really hit home how good of a fullback he was in that final game of the series. So I would go Willemese as there, but I definitely have Jordie Barrett bracketed as in the squad because of the amount of versatility he offers, fullback, wing, and second five or inside centre. But I think Willemese was just again another level up for the Springboks.
So are we thinking then Jordie Barrett on the bench or just in the extended 30?
I think he'll be in the extended 30 because I think we need a specialist first five reserve on the bench. I think you can make it work. Obviously, Buffelli can go to fullback. Will Jordan can play 12. You could even you could make it work and get centres and cover. We haven't talked about the 13 yet, but I think there will be spot for two 10s in this team. So I would leave Jordie Barrett until the reserves. Talking about 10, let's get on to this discussion because I've got three players bracketed. Obviously Barrett, then there's Mo'unga and Andre Pollard from South Africa. As much as I don't want to disrespect Nicolas Sanchez, and there was another first five who came in and did a fantastic job for Argentina during their series. Yeah, that one. And Noah Lolosio obviously did a fantastic job coming in late to that first game and throughout the series. But I think there's three players clearly a level above. Pre-Irish series, I would have slotted Bowden Barrett or Richie Mo'unga in there pretty easily. It makes it a bit harder. You obviously didn't get to see much of Richie Mo'unga. So for that fact, I would probably go Bowden Barrett 10 and then Andre Pollard 22. But I'm happy to hear your thoughts as well.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that at all. I think Bowden Barrett, I mean, he's one of the best players in the world at the moment. Andre Pollard as well. I don't think you can go wrong either way there. I think though what will kind of I think. I just think, I don't know. I just for whatever reason I'm just leaning towards Bowden Barrett, just a slight for the starting spot. I think it's because maybe he's just so used to challenging early. I mean, they both are. They're both starting 10s. Yeah, I don't know. Just something in Bowden Barrett is making me want to pick him in that starting 10 spot. Just an instinct. So I agree with you there. I mean, it's your call with the 10, and
Yeah.
you're the expert on the position here. So, but it just yeah, I don't have words for it. Is what I'm trying to say. There's just something. I just have an instinct that that is where Barrett belongs.
Yeah, agreed. So we're good there. Barrett and Pollard on 10 and 22. All right, mate. Only four starting positions left.
Yeah, yeah. So this will be another tricky one, and this will be we'll start looking at the props, and let's look at the number one jersey first. Now, as a Wallabies fan, Angus Bell is going to always sort of be the first name that comes to mind. Um, Now, there were some scrummaging issues for Australia against England. I think that's more about how good England's scrum was as opposed to problems with Australia. But in the game that Australia won against England, interestingly enough, it was the combination of Angus Bell and Alan Alatoa as the two props there with Porecki. And that was a really solid scrummaging package. Now, as good as Taniela Tupou is, as good of a prop as he is, I think actually Tupou's best propping position is off the bench. I don't necessarily know if his scrummaging style meshes with Angus Bell. But I think Angus Bell could thrive with an experienced prop at that three position. So I think, so Angus Bell is the first prop that comes to mind for me in the number one jersey. But I'd be interested to hear your thoughts as well.
Yeah, the prop position is really, really hard when you look at it, but purely because I don't think the New Zealand props were anything special. And so then you look into obviously Argentina and South Africa. Now, South Africa, the issue I have with selecting South Africa props is what they do is great in 45, 50 minutes. Like they have a bomb squad, so they only play 45 minutes and then obviously come off. I think you'll end up with probably having to select South African props. And like you said, you've got Taniela Tupou on the bench. So the only positions and players, I believe it's what's his name? Mbompe, I believe. I'll try and pull it up now.
The hooker.
No.
Bonga Mbompe.
Is it Malherbe? Malherbe?
Yeah,
I think
Frans Malherbe. Yeah.
Malherbe, yeah. And I think he's a number 3, I believe.
He's a number 3.
So again, I know he played pretty well in those series.
Yeah.
But again, it's hard to select from the South African series just because of the changes they made in the second game, so only having the 14 come back. But I think I'd go, at least he will be somewhere in my squad.
He's my roughly penciled in 3.
Yeah, cool. Okay, yeah, I like Angus Belt 1. I think he had probably the best series of all the ones out there, not named Ellis Genge. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I just look, as you look at across the board at the ones, it's hard other than Bell to find a standout. The other massive standout at 1, quite honestly, was James Slipper. I think he actually had a really good series. But I think Bell wins the starting 1 position, and a young guy that sort of can carry on the tradition of this Southern Hemisphere team into the future.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to go number 5, the second lock partner, and I'm going to go, I think Sam Whitelock wins out here. Again, it's one of the weaker positions for the Australians, looking at Argentina and even South Africa. I could have gone Luke de Jager, but I think Sam Whitelock is the number 5 with a bit of experience, adds to that. Like when you read out Etzebeth for Whitelock 5, Kolisi 6, Hooper 7, Sevilla 8, it's a pretty fearful row of players, second row and back row. So I think Sam Whitelock wins the 5 jersey, in my opinion.
Alrighty. Well, let's round out our forward pack here, and we'll look at the 3 jersey. Now, I think we basically just talked about it, but Frans Malherbe, however you pronounce his name.
Yeah.
Apologies if I'm butchering it. For me, he's the starting 3, with the proviso that Taniela Tupou is the 3 off the bench.
Yeah.
And so that would be the number 18 jersey, I believe. And so that's what I'm going to pencil in here.
Yeah,
But
definitely
yeah,
agreed.
what are your
Agreed.
thoughts?
Yeah, 100%
Agreed?
agree. I think
Great.
those two work in really well. Again,
Yeah.
you're asking Malherbe to do 45 minutes of 50 minutes of really good work, and then Tupou to bring on 30 minutes of excellence. So I think that works really well. So I'm left with 13 to pick. Now there's two players that jump out at me straight away. It's from Luka from Springboks and Rieko Ioane. And I really do like what did, but I think I'm going to go Rieko Ioane just for pure skill. I think played better throughout the series, but I think I'm taking Ioane in this spot. But love to hear your opinion on that one as well.
No, I agree. I mean, coming from an Australian perspective, I don't think any of our 13s particularly stood out. Like, I think Hunter Paisami is a good defender, a great tackler, the Hitman Hunter and all that. But I don't think he offers enough in the way of attack. And I think even for the Wallabies, he doesn't offer enough in the way of attack, let alone the Southern Hemisphere team. Argentina, they've got Matthias Orlando. I don't know if he had. Yeah, I don't. He's good, but I don't know if he's got the same, pizzazz as Ioane.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as much as I want to get some more Argentinians in here, struggling really to find spots for them, given the amazing overall talent that is between the Wallabies, Springboks, and All Blacks.
Yeah, I mean, looking at that team now, that starting team, I think we've got 5 Wallabies, 5 Springboks, 4 All Blacks, and 1 Argentinian player. So a very good mix of players, I think, throughout the 3 teams, which you kind of hope you get when you're selecting a team like this. Shall we finish off this bench? We've got a reserve prop, which we ideally want as a number 1, and then a reserve lock. I'll tick off the reserve lock. You either go in 2 positions here, and you're either going Luke de Jager, I think it is his name, or Brodie Retallick. I preference Brodie Retallick just when I think he's at his best. I think he's one of the best locks, if not the best lock in the world. So to be able to have him and just bring him off the bench, I think is the way to go. So I was going to go 19 as Brodie Retallick.
Okay. Frankenstein himself. Or Frankenstein's monster, whatever I put in there. Alrighty. So we need our reserve tidy here now. Now, as you said, I don't think for All Blacks, I don't think George Bower had an amazing series, and even in Super Rugby, he struggled a bit.
Well, yeah, I've been told different. I would tend to agree he hasn't been over the moon, but I think the way the All Blacks props played, he's been made to look really good, and so leaving him out of that 17 jersey, I know I'll get some hate, but I also don't disagree. I think he will be probably one of the prop we take on the bench, just because I think he can play both sides as well, if my memory is consistent.
Yeah. Now, I'm looking at South Africa here. Trevor Inakane and Thomas Dutoit are the names I'm looking at here. But yeah, those are the names I'm looking at for the bench. I think Angus Bell can come in and put in a 60-minute effort, 55-minute effort, and
I like Nkane from South Africa. I think that could be
and then come in and put in an end of the game. So sort of reverse what Malherbe's doing.
Yeah.
And then but other than that, I'm not really seeing any names that stand out to me here.
I like that.
From the Argentinian side, Chaparro is there one, but I don't know if he had a great series or not. But yeah, I think Niakane, how we pronounce his name. Again, we're not linguists here. Apologies if we mess up the names, but
Gotcha.
I'm going to pop him in at 17.
Excellent. Okay, so that's our 23 done. Shall we just run through that quickly?
Yeah, so I'll go through the forwards, you go through the backs.
Yeah.
Forwards, starting forwards, we've got Angus Bell, Dave Porecki, Frans Malherbe, Eben Etzebeth, Sam Whitelock, Sia Kolisi, Michael Hooper, and Artie Savia.
And then into the backs, it's de Klerk, Barrett, Kurabiti on one wing with Boffelli on the other wing, Karevi and Nwane in the centres, and Willamese out the back.
For our reserves, we've got Malcolm Marks, Trevor Incarne, Daniel Tupo, Brody Retallick, and Pablo Matera as the bench forwards.
And then Aaron Smith as a reserve halfback, reserve first five, Andre Pollard and Will Jordan to finish us off. I think that's a pretty bloody good team.
Spicy squad. That's a spicy squad, yeah.
We'll move on. So we've got, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So to make up the 30, I think we probably want to take two props with us each side.
Yeah.
Two props, a hooker. Shit, we might select 31 just to make it because I think we want two props, a hooker, a lock, a back rower, then another halfback, another fly half centre, and an outside back reserve. So maybe 31, 32. So, yeah, I think George Bauer probably gets the pick in the reserves, I think at least. I do think a All Blacks prop. The way they dominated the first test in the scrums, it wasn't dominant in the last two, but the first test when we did win, we were all over the Irish, which doesn't often happen, and I think George Bauer is probably a reason for that.
Okay. George Bauer for All Blacks. Alrighty. So let's think about then our third hooker, right? So we've got Porecki, we've got Marks.
Yeah.
All right. Now Montoya was the name we sort of threw up from Argentina as a potential in hooker. So I think it's only fair really to put Montoya into that jersey.
100% agree.
If you can make an argument for Cody Taylor for me if you want.
Nah, not after the series I just watched. As great as Cody Taylor has been in an All Blacks jersey, I think we go with Montoya and just say, sorry, All Blacks hookers, you miss out this time.
Yeah.
Which is, unfortunate, but yeah. And then we want one more prop. Is Bowser one? I'm not mistaken in that. Or is Bauer a free? Is Bauer a 1 or a free? Is he a Lucy or a tidy?
Bauer's a 1, I believe. Yeah, he's a 1.
Yeah, so we need a
3.
3. And so there's two names that come up for me, and one's Ofa Tonga Fussy, and then the other is Alan Alatoa. And I actually, after the series I've just watched, I prefer Alan Alatoa to probably come away. Again, a Brumbies captain.
I would agree with
another
that.
leadership player to come with us, I think will be a good pick.
I think the experience he's got as well, and he's just a tough son of a bitch as well.
Yeah, 100%.
I think he's very... Alrighty, so...
Lock.
I really want to bring an Australian lock, but I'm finding it hard to justify. I will say Matt Phillip had probably his best series I've ever seen him have against England. 0 mistakes, really good at line-out time, great at the breakdown and everything like that as well. So he comes to mind for me. Do you know much about the Argentinian locks?
No, but they're not are they better than even Matt Phillip? I'd take Matt Phillip over the Argentinian locks, but I think one name stands out, and it's Luke Diaga from South Africa. Again, he starts alongside Etzebeth. I think he's like 6'8", 6'9". He's a giant, like a legitimate giant. So, I mean, having him in your squad, another.
Yeah, I can't justify Matt Phillip. I can't really justify Matt Phillip as much as I want to. I mean, Nick Frost had a good couple of games as well, but I think he's just a little bit too inexperienced. I think he's got to get a couple more games under his belt. I think the second time this tour comes around, if he continues how he's been playing, he'd be probably one of the players looked at there. But yeah, Lou Diaga from the Springboks.
Yeah, so we move on to the flank. So the reserve flanker. So this is where we got Sam Kane, obviously. We've got Bobby Valentini, I think, the two, and Wise from South Africa. I don't know if there's any other Argentinian back rowers that that also deserve it to get in there. I think their number 8 had a pretty good series as well. But I'm leaning on just going Sam Kane here as a backup number 7 selection. So that we had 2 sevens on in the squad, because I don't see a number 7 as good as him out there. I don't think Kaiga Smith is as good. So that's where I would go, but I could also see an argument for Wise or Bobby Valentini. So
who are you going there, sorry?
Sam Kane.
Sam Kane. Yeah, I think we said we would keep him in the 30 for experience as well. And I think him bringing, I guess, not only his experience, but his leadership in terms of as well, like how to run a successful team, and his ideas of a captain knowing everything that he needs to know about a team, bringing that to a Southern Hemisphere team, I think that's valuable. So yeah, I would agree with that there.
We can put an asterisk next to successful for the time being. He's been in successful teams. Is he running a successful team at the moment?
Okay, look, I mean, it's crazy to see. New Zealanders are flipping out about someone with like a 68 winning percentage as a coach. Australia's here. I don't think we've had a coach with an over 50% winning rate since like 2003 or something. So calm down.
A difference, mate.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Reserve
so
halfback.
What are we looking at now? Yeah, reserve halfback. Now I'm going to make a case here for Nick White. I think he had a really good series. I think he also brings some experience. He's a little rascal as well. That mustache. How can you not love him?
The only argument I would make to you is Bertrano of Argentina.
I was going to say the Argentina. Yeah, Gonzalo Bertrano.
He was fantastic in a couple of games with them. I think if he played all 3, I think he only came off the bench in the second one or something like that. So it was a bit hard to get a read on him. But the couple of games he did play, I was taken aback by I think the potential he's got. So I mean, I really don't mind as our third half. I think the two halves we've got probably.
I think I can be persuaded for Bertrano, just if nothing else, to increase the number of Argentinians, Los Pumas in the squad. And that's how you develop world rugby.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Onto the centre. So we've got 2 more players, a centre and an outside back. I think from South Africa is a pretty easy choice. When you're looking at the 13, you've got Ricky Ioane, and then you can make the decision that Lucano can come in there at any point. I think is a pretty easy selection.
And then one reserve.
Outside back,
yes.
So
we've got Willemisi. Yeah, we've got there's Geordie Barrett there. There's not an argument I can make for someone over Geordie Barrett.
Yeah, you look at like Tom Wright and you could go, but probably not quite yet. You could go Severeese, but again, didn't have the greatest series, hasn't got as much versatility as Barrett. I mean, the fact that Barrett can go into 12, that gives us a backup 12 as well as Kariri was to go down. I think that's the way to go for it.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. The positional versatility he's got, the natural chemistry he's got with his brother in the team as well, I think will be good. Gives Bowden a roommate as well. So, I think it's a good choice there. Now, I'm going to quickly tally up how many of each team we have here. Why don't you let us run us through the bench?
Yeah, so the reserves we've finished with George Barrow of the All Blacks, so a reserve prop, and Alan Alatoa, another reserve prop for the Wallabies. Reserve hooker is Montoya from Argentina. Reserve lock is Luke Diaga from the Springboks. Reserve flanker, probably the biggest selection there is the most questionable one, Sam Kane from the All Blacks, and it's surprising to say that, but it is kind of the state of New Zealand rugby at the moment and everything. And then we've got Bertrano as our reserve half from Argentina, from Springboks as our reserve midfielder, and Barrett as our reserve outside back / do it all. I think, looking at the team, probably the biggest question mark, a lot of people will probably question us on Porecki, but I think the way he played in that series and just the maturity level, although he hasn't played a lot of tests for the Wallabies, I think the maturity level, I'm really happy to have him in there. And I think the fact that you can bring someone like Marks off the bench again, you're only asking Porecki to give us 45 good minutes. He hits his line-out targets. He's mobile. So it does exactly what we need. Looking around, Sam Whitelock as well at number 5 is an interesting choice, probably just because Retallick's on the bench and you Luke Diaga. But again, I think those 4 locks is just all could play and no one would make much of a complaint. We've gone to Clerk over Aaron Smith in the number 9 jersey, as well as Barrett over Pollard and Mo'unga. We didn't actually select a reserve first 5, which we probably, if we were to do it, would bracket, I think, Mo'unga to be that reserve first 5. A non-travelling reserve will do that. If one of our first 5 goes down, Mo'unga's in. But yeah, Barrett and Pollard take those numbers. And then our outsides are probably the hardest selections. We've gone with Cotabete, Boffelli, Willemese, and then obviously Jordan and Barrett on the bench can cover all of that. So I think we've gone with the right way there in those positions. In our centres in Karevi with Arm on the bench or in the reserves, I think gives us a lot of versatility when we're looking at this team.
Yeah. Okay. So I've done my calculations here. So in the full extended 30, we have got 7 Wallabies, 10 All Blacks, 10 Springboks, and 4 Argentinian Los Pumas. In the opening 23, we've got 6 Wallabies, 7 All Blacks, 8 Springboks, and 2 Argentinians. And in the starting 15, we've got 5 Wallabies, 4 All Blacks, 5 Springboks, and 1 Argentinian. Now, that last one, I am surprised that there's more Wallabies in the starting team than All Blacks, even though it's only by 1 player. But I think that's a pretty good spread there. 5 Wallabies, 4 All Blacks, 5 Springboks, 1 Argentinian. And yeah, I think it's a good overall split.
100%. I think, even looking at those 5 Wallabies, I think the only 2 you could even discuss are Angus, Bow and Porecki. The other 3, Hooper, Cotabete and Karevi, are guarantees, I think, from the way they've been playing. But yeah, I think that's a perfect split. Exactly what you expect in the 30 squad. 10 of 10 split between the Springboks and All Blacks, which are the 2 best teams, going into this Rugby Championship. Wallabies are definitely on the improvement. I don't think this time last year we probably would have had 7 Wallabies, but I think, or even 2 years ago. And then Argentina, again, those 4 that go on that tour would get fantastic, I guess, experience, and the idea is, like you said, it points us to grow rugby. So you want at least, again, it would be great to have probably 1 or 2 more there, but just we also want to win when we get on this tour. So I couldn't see this team losing too many games. Depends who you're putting as the coach. I would probably, if I was to throw a coach's name out there, it would probably be Warren Gatland, just purely because he's had experience with Lions tours like this before. If we're not taking a coach out of their national team rank, Joe Schmidt's another name you could chuck in there. But yeah, I think a pretty bloody good team, if you ask me.
I would agree with that as well, mainly because we picked it together. But I would love to see. You could even the British and Irish Lions tours every 4 years, going to a different host nation out of Australia, South Africa, or New Zealand. This, I think, you could do visit France, England, and then who would you say would be the 3rd team? Ireland, I guess.
I think you do. I think if you're visiting, like you do, like England and Wales, and then Ireland and Scotland as your 3 years. So you just combine 2 of them. I think whoever's in the URC or whatever it is, I think it might be Wales and Ireland in the URC. So it might be Wales and Ireland, and then England and Scotland, and then France and like Italy. So you do the 6 nations and 2 at a time. So you do a tour like that. I think would probably be the best way. Again, it would probably be a series against. I would just say you'd say whoever's the highest ranked team out of those nations. So like, chances are it's going to be Ireland, England, and France. Yeah, probably have a 3-match series with some midweek games against the Italians, the Scots, and the Welsh.
I'd love to see this team against the British and Irish Lions team.
Oh, that would be the dream. I think that would be
a great series.
Yeah, that would be special. I'd love to see that. Even if it was once every 6 years, and it was just a real like royalty of the game. Like, it was very special to get there, and you just have, every 6 years a series in England, and then or in the Northern Hemisphere, and then a series down under. I think could be fantastic for the game. But yeah, I mean, all we can do is hope. We've made this video as a bit of an eye opener for hopefully some I guess boards and CEOs out there to maybe have an idea and see.
SANZAAR,
the SANZAAR 15. I like that as a name just to start off with. I think that's a perfect name.
Yeah, we come up with a mascot of some kind. It'd be like a horrifying amalgamation of a puma, a wallaby, a kiwi, and a springbok. So it'd be like a puma head with the springbok horns, the body of a kiwi with the legs of a wallaby.
It was going good until we got to the kiwi and the wallaby part, and I think then everyone would have probably said, "Oh, that's so cute."
Well, you just see the head coming out, then you just see the or you have the wallaby body with just a pair of useless kiwi wings on there.
Wings, yeah. Alrighty, that is the video there. We have made our SANZAAR 15. Let us know in the comments where we went right, where we went wrong, who you would have changed, who maybe you would have selected if you had the chance. But for now, thank you for joining us, and we will see you again next time. Cheers.
Peace.